Good morning and welcome to Daily Devotions with Pastor Joe. I'm Pastor Joe. For this morning's devotional, we're looking into Psalm 19, total of 14 verses here. They're all absolutely fantastic and a great speaking out of just praise to the Lord as we begin this beautiful Wednesday morning. Right at the beginning, if you like the video, give it a like. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell icon if you haven't yet, or else you won't get notifications when these videos go live. Comment down below if you have any testimonies or anything you want to share, and share this video with a friend or on social media if you can. Psalm 19, verse 1, begins out with the words, "To the chief musician, a psalm of David. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament sheweth his handiwork." We've already seen this several times before, and we'll see it many more times yet, that David especially loves to look at the world and the universe around us and just talk about how creation itself calls out the handiwork of the Lord and shows how great he is and all the great things he's done, and how his very fingers are shown, his fingerprints are shown everywhere throughout creation. And so the beginning of this psalm starts out that way. It says, "Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night sheweth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race." Talking about the beauty of creation and of the skies, and then says their line has gone out through all the earth, their words to the end of the world, and talks about the sun being set in its place, which as a bridegroom coming out of its chamber, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous whenever the sun rises in the morning. Perhaps he wrote this in the early morning, who knows. Bridegroom out of his chamber rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it. It continues around the world. As the world spins, you see the sun travels all around it. Now, of course, the sun we know is stationary in position to the earth, but the earth is what is actually spinning to go around for the sun to be seen. But he says he's just admiring and poetically saying that watching the sun rise as a groom out of the chamber and go through the skies to the other side and come back around again is just glorious and wonderful to watch and consider the Lord in all of that. And there's nothing hid from the heat thereof. There's not a place on this earth that doesn't get some heat, some light from the sun. Verse 7, "The law of the Lord is perfect." Once again, law, testimony, statutes, commandment, we're going to see judgments, all of those words David uses a lot of times in reference to God's word and the things that God has set forth as the laws that he's put in place. And every time David talks about any of those things or talks about the word of the Lord in any reference, any style, any word he uses to reference it, he always has admiration and love and absolute delight for God's word, as we should as well. Verse 7, "The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. Moreover, by them is thy servant warned, and in keeping of them there is great reward. Who can understand his errors?" Then he says. He says, and that word "his" being supplied there because there's no definite article there before the word errors. They have to supply it to understand. It could be his, her, their, our, something to that effect. Who can understand their own errors, their own mistakes? Who can see the mistakes that they make? And then he says to God, he says, cleanse thou me from secret faults. And we should be crying out to God and saying, God, if there's anything that I've done that maybe I don't know of, that you haven't pricked my conscience of, help me to be forgiven of those secret faults. Not only that my conscience might be clear before you in all of eternity, but also that maybe clear the way from those things that would come without me realizing it, from those secret faults, the judgments that would be passed as a result of that on this earth. And then he says, keep back thy servant also from presumptuous sins. We shouldn't presume on the Lord anything. We shouldn't go and say, well, I'm going to do this sin, but, I think God will forgive me. That's a very dangerous thing to do, to toy with the Lord in that way. And really, with those two prayers in mind, cleanse me from any secret faults that I have, any things that I've done that I don't realize, and keep me from going and sinning against you presumptuously. Let them not have dominion over me, then shall I be upright, and I shall be innocent from the great transgression. God keeping us back from presuming things, from sinning presumptuously, and God forgiving us for any secret faults that we might have, keeps us from ever having any sin in our life. And it really would, because if we don't presume on the Lord any sins, then we wouldn't be committing any sins. Any sins that we commit after salvation is honestly presumptuous. It's a presumptuous sin. When you go back to sin after God has saved you, it's that presuming risk, saying, well, I think God is going to let me slide on this, or he'll forgive me when it's all said and done. And then he closes out with some of the best words, the best prayer that I believe you can possibly pray. He says, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. And that really should be our prayer. As David's saying here, forgive me for any secrets that I don't realize I've done wrong. Keep my actions pure from any presumptuous sins. Keep my words pure, and the very meditation or desire or thoughts of my heart to be pure. And that's really where we ought to be in our life, to where we want to be acceptable in God's sight in act, word, or deed, in everything we do. And then he says, my strength and my Redeemer, putting his trust in God to be the strength to do all of these things, and to be his Redeemer in those times where he needs a Redeemer, which we all have needed that Redeemer. Without God, we would be lost forever. We would have no hope. But with God, we have that great strength and Redeemer in God that we need. It's just great to know that God cares about us so much, He loves us so much, that He's that He sent His Son for us, and that He cares, and He can keep us from He can keep us innocent from great transgressions. He can keep us innocent from any presumptuous sins. He can forgive us for any faults that we have. He can keep the words of our mouth and meditation of our heart acceptable in His sight, if we just ask for His help. And we can't do it on our own. There's nothing we on our own can do to make those things right. But we turn to Him, and He can do so many great things in our lives to keep us from sin. So, put your trust in the Lord today. Remember to focus on the fact that He is your strength and your help that you need. He is your Redeemer. He is the one who has saved you and who's given you the strength to do all that you need to do. And as you go through this day today, just draw closer to the Lord. Just do your best to get near to Him. If you have any testimonies or anything you want to share, who knows if it might be just what I need for the day or what somebody else who's reading the comments might need for the day. Give your testimony. Share something down in the comment section below. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow on another Daily Devotions with Pastor Joe. God bless and have a fantastic day in the Lord.